Thank you for joining. This is a networking lab demonstration. Welcome back to the AWS VPC hands-on demo series. In previous videos, I created a VPC container, added an internet gateway to its edge, and set up both public and private subnets inside of the virtual private network. Now it's time to talk about how traffic moves in and out of those subnets. That's where routing comes in. Routing in AWS is all about controlling where network traffic goes. Each subnet in a VPC is associated with a routing table, which defines the possible paths that traffic can take. Think of it like a GPS for your subnet. It tells packets, if you're trying to get to this destination, here's how to get there. In AWS, public and private subnets require different route configurations. A public subnet needs a route to the internet gateway, so resources like EC2 Instances can communicate with the internet. A private subnet, on the other hand, does not connect directly to the internet. If it needs internet access, for example, to download updates, it will use a NAT Gateway, which securely forwards the traffic. Using separate routing tables for public and private subnets gives you more control and flexibility. It allows you to clearly define how traffic is handled for each environment, and it's a best practice for designing secure and scalable networks. In this video, I'll walk you through how to create a routing table for the public subnet and add a route to the internet gateway. I'll also create a routing table for the private subnet, which will later connect to the NAT gateway. I'll associate each subnet with the correct routing table. Let's head over to AWS. I'll select the route table subcategory and begin creating the public routing table. To create the routing table itself, I need only to provide a name for my table and associate it with my VPC. After that, I'll click Create. Since this is the public routing table, I'll associate it with the internet gateway. Watch as I do that. 0.0.0.0 is used to indicate any destination. That will cover all of the possible destinations that end devices would desire to reach on the internet. I'll associate the internet gateway and save the configuration. Okay, that's it for the public routing table for now. I've set up the public routing and associated the internet gateway. However, I still need to associate the subnet. I want to do the associations in layers. I'll come back later and associate the public routing table to the public subnet and the private routing table to the private subnet. Now, moving on to the creation of the private routing table, I'll give it a name, associate the VPC, and click Create. I don't need to or even want to edit the table to allow traffic to the internet gateway. So that's pretty much it for the private routing table. In a later video, I will add network address translation, or NAT, to the private subnet to allow for broader outbound traffic movement. All right, now let's go ahead and associate the subnets like I just mentioned. First, I'll associate the public routing table with the public subnet. Then, I'll move on to the private routing table and associate it with the private subnet. Going into the public routing table, I'll click on Edit Subnet Association. I'll then select which subnet I want associated with the table. I'll eventually click Save. This portion takes me a while to complete. I wanted to make sure that I was in the correct table, the public table, before clicking Save. Please bear with me. This is where I hesitated. The header of the dashboard no longer indicates the label Public Routing Table, so I got a little unsteady about clicking Save. I'll double-check myself before moving forward. Hang on a bit. Okay, yes, I'm in the Public Routing Table. I'll associate and click Save. I'll follow the same steps for the private routing table. I'll associate it with the private subnet and click Save. Okay, great. Routing is now configured. My public subnet is internet ready, and my private subnet is isolated, but prepared for secure outbound access. Okay, well, that's it for this video. Join me in the next video as I continue to build out the virtual private cloud network. Goodbye for now.